Okay, I'm going to just assume you guys can still hear me. um, so I put on here that I thought maybe some people might want me to review the JOT form, just walk through it. If there's any questions about that, I'm happy to. Also, we recently sent out the monthly status reports. I wasn't sure if people had any questions, so I do have a sample monthly status report that I can go through and answer some questions, show you how to sort it. And then lastly, just for assessments and reassessments, I just wanted to review that process one more time. If anybody has any questions as we go along, you can let me know and we can get to those either while we're talking or at the end. So I'll start with the monthly status report. Can you all see the sample monthly status report that I have on my screen right now?
Yep, looks great.
So one of the questions we've been getting a lot since the last report went out is on your report you might see that there's some IDs that don't also have a name. And so people have been wondering why that is and what they can do to change that. Typically what that is if you sent us the demographics to get a new participant ID for someone and we generated an ID but nothing has been entered into JOT forms yet, it will show up as the ID number only. So in order to get the name to show up in there on your next report, all you have to do is go into JOT form and enter something. Anything doesn't. So if you do a blood pressure for a person, you can go in and enter that, or that they are in fact active, you can do that as well. And I can show you how to do that. Another thing that people have been noticing is that they might have somebody that has ID numbers. So you might see like Jane Doe, and then maybe you'll later on your report see another Jane Doe, and she'll have 2 ID numbers. If you that can be any number of reasons. Maybe they had an old ID number in DocSite, they were inactive, and then they got a new number. There was an issue in DocSite where when people tried to move someone around, it would generate a new number. It could be any number of things, but if you see that, please let us know. Also, Joanna is working on that on her end as well. She's trying to find those issues when that happens and figure out which ID number should be being used. We'll let you know, in the future, please only use this number for Jane Doe. And then one can merge all the data from the 2 different numbers on the back end. So those are some of the things. You might also hear us asking you if you have certain people on your panel. One of the quality issues that we're having right now with JOT form is that people are showing up on multiple panels, and I think that what that is on JOT form, when you go to select your panel, if you accidentally select the wrong panel, that person will then show up on both panels. So you'll be hearing from Amy and I with all of these kind of questions as we're just trying to clean up some of the data entered. And a good way to see that is to see on your monthly status report if there's anything that strikes you as odd. Just let us know. But we're looking at those as well. Any questions on the status report? Does anybody want me to go through how to sort this, either alphabetically or maybe by participant ID? I'm not sure. Would that be helpful, or have you guys all? So I'm just going to show you real quick because it'll take us 2 seconds and maybe there's somebody out there who wants to see it. So when you get your monthly status report, if it's helpful for you to have it sorted by participant name, what you want to do is highlight except this top row, but the header row, and then you want to go to filter and custom sort. You're going to sort by the participant name column, and you're going to sort A to Z. Okay. Oh, I put that second Jane Doe in there. Sorry, I screwed myself up. Again. Oh. Okay, sorry, that won't normally show up. Normally you'll just have one level. So you would sort by participant name, and then it's probably most helpful to have it be A to Z, and then you would say okay. And now you've got your participant list alphabetically, and by highlighting, sure that all of the data for Jane Doe, if you were to just highlight this and sort alphabetically, it would just sort the names, but it wouldn't move any of their data with them. Have any questions about that? Does that make sense?
You know what? This is Amy. I've never tried to do it like that. Normally, I go under sort and filter, and then do a filter. I highlight row 2 there, and if I hit filter, then there's a little arrow at the bottom of every single one of those boxes, and you can choose. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Right. So you're saying you would do this, and then you would go here and say filter.
And each one of those little arrows is now a drop-down menu, and you can either sort by that or you can choose just the names that you're looking for.
Do that? Does it bring all of the data with it, Amy?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's another option. Either one of those is fine. What Amy's saying is that if you do it, then you could also go through and just say sort by participant ID, let's say. It makes it easier to do multiple. Now it's on in order. So if for some reason you wanted to see that your participant ID is in order, it might make it easier to search an ID number. You could do that, or then you could go back to participant name. The way that she did that was you highlight row 2, go to filter. In that case, I just took it off, but filter, and it adds these little boxes, which then let you choose sort row, and then apparently it does move all with it, so that's great.
I find that's really helpful when you're trying to figure out where the blanks are in your report, because if you click that select all box, and then all of them go away, but you can then select just the blanks, and then you can see where you need to like fill in where there might be a flu vaccination date that's blank or something.
Oh, so like if you were trying to find your use and disclosures, I can show you here on the flu.
Yeah.
Unselect all and then select blanks, and it just brings you those two. So those two people don't have an answer for flu vaccine. You would go back, select all, and that would put them all back. So just to show that again, just because I kind of breezed through it, if you wanted to know who these two people were, and say you had a huge report with, your 100 people and there's a couple blanks in all of them, you would just select this, undo select all, and only select the blanks, and then it would show you, oh, these two people flu shots. Or, I mean, this is going to be super helpful with your use and disclosures to figure out who's missing your use and disclosures. But then when you're done with that, so now you've got your information, you would just select this little box again and select all, and that would bring all your people. Oh, hold on, I've got a couple questions. Thank you, Carol. This was a question that I was supposed to bring up today, and I completely forgot. Can we inactivate a participant if they are deceased but the assessments have not been put into the system yet? Yes, please do. So the minute that you have someone that's deceased or you're done working with them for whatever reason, please go into JotForm and make them inactive. If we have not entered the reassessment or the initial assessment for them yet, that's fine. We'll get to it and we will be able to enter it, but that just means that your report will be more accurate when you get it each month. So thank you, Carol. That was on my list of things to talk about, and I had forgotten to put it on the agenda. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. And then
I didn't know
Jody.
if I could unmute. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Jody typed in that nurses used to get the monthly reports encrypted, doing them copied to our thumb drive from the coordinator, or should they copy them for us? What are people doing? We can't send them. If you used to get them, Jody, and you want them again, the status report, I don't see why we can't send that. Just it works the same way that it used to. So
Jody, we can talk about that.
So I think that that's fine. I know that I've just been sending them out the same way that I used to, so that the question was, we thought maybe we would be able to send reassessments back to you in emails, and that doesn't look like we're going to be able to do that, but the monthly status report should still be able to function as they always did. Any other questions about the monthly status report? So back to our agenda. I think we answered how to sort and what does it mean when I have an ID number but no name. Okay. Review of JOT form. Reminder to mute your phone, please, if you're not talking. Thank you. So I wanted to go through this. Is this a new participant question? I've had some questions about it lately. Really, I guess what this should say is, does this participant already have an ID? Because that's what this question is trying to get at. If the person, well, and it would have to be worded differently, but if the person does not have an ID, then we are calling them a new participant. It could be someone that has been on your panel since September, but because they didn't have a DocSite ID and you haven't sent anything in yet to get one, they don't. So, I mean, you don't think of them as new because you've been working with them for 6 months. But if they don't have a participant ID, then the answer is yes, this is a new participant. If they do have a participant ID, then the answer is either going to be no, or I need to update an existing participant info. And those just lead you to different questions. So no leads you to all of the questions like falls, vitals, flu, transitions of care, and advanced directives. Whereas I need to update an existing participant leads you to things like they've signed the use and disclosure, in a they're living in the community at large, and then this is where you would do that no longer participating in SASH. This is where you would make someone either inactive or mark that they had died. If you have someone on your report, one of those cases, just have an ID number and you don't have a name, and you want your next report to show a name, but you really don't have anything that you need to enter for that person, you can just come here, put I need to update existing participant info, enter that new ID, and then just mark them active. I mean, that's all you have to do. If there's other information that you want to enter, great, but if you don't have anything, that's okay. You can get them to show up on your report just by marking active, and then you would scroll down and select whatever panel you're from. And again, just make sure, take a second to just make sure that you clicked the right one, because I think especially when we're entering things like blood pressure clinics and we're getting in a roll and we've got a lot of stuff to enter, you just scroll down and click the thing you think that is yours, but really it's the one above it or below it. And that's how we're showing people on multiple panels. So if you can just take that extra second to make sure that you actually selected the one you meant to select before you submit, that would be helpful. Oh, yeah. Okay, Carol, I think that you had come in right in the middle of that conversation, but it looks like we went through and answered it again anyway, so good. Carol was just asking about those IDs on the monthly status report with no. So now we know what to do about those. Are there any other questions that you guys have about using the JOT form? Any questions or anything on here that you wish were on here that isn't? When you're going through and you're entering all this info, do you think to yourself, oh, I wish I could put this, and it's not on here? Back about the form, things you'd like to see or things that you don't think are necessary? any of that. So going back to when you send in your assessments, if you could, this, oh, I emailed to everybody. I should have added some more information on here, I think, because this is amazingly helpful. So what we have is we have 3 people actually right now doing our data entry for us. And it takes a while to learn which towns are served by which panel or which coordinators work with which panel, and what we were getting were just reassessments that maybe had no indication of who the SASH coordinator was or what the panel was. And we would be able to figure it out because we know that this town is served by that panel, but the people that we have doing the data entry don't know that yet. And so it takes us a while to sit down and figure it out. Even for those of us that know it, it takes them even longer. So by filling out this one simple form, it probably takes you like 30 seconds. And what I had said was, you can go ahead and, like, before you print this, type your name in, type your wellness nurse name in, type your panel name in, and print them that way. So then all you have to do when you go to put it on top of your assessment or your reassessment is enter the participant ID. It'll take you, 20 seconds tops to do that versus 5 minutes of research for our guys. That would be very helpful. And then also, if you could indicate if this that you're sending to us, if it's an initial assessment or a reassessment, that would be very helpful as well. We are trying to enter assessments first. We're pretty much all caught up on all of the initial assessments that we have kicking around, and we're moving on to reassessments. But as we go forward, if a new initial assessment comes to us, we're going to enter that. Have no information on that person, whereas a reassessment, we have at least some historical data on them. So that just helps us with our workflow. If we know it's an initial, we're going to enter it first. And then also, if you in your stack of stuff that you're sending us, if these are our copies to keep, or if you need a copy and send these back to you, that would also be helpful. We have just been getting stacks of stuff in the mail, and we're not sure if we should be copying them or not, and then we have to follow up with an email. And again, any little information that you can give us in the front is going to save time in the long run, and it's very, very much appreciated. So, question, I'm sorry, from Carol.
Hello.
I am just looking online here. We have a question from Carol. What constitutes a housing site? If it is a community panel, yet the participant is in a housing site, is it considered a housing site, or are they a community participant? So if it's a strictly community panel, then it's a community participant, even if they live in a building. So you're asking about that question, living in the community at large?
Yes, yes. Because sometimes we have a community panel, but yet they're in a, for instance, our Parker House, Linden Terrace community panel, that we always say that if they're in Parker House or Linden Terrace, they're in a housing site. But yet we have a half community panel where we have some folks that are living in the Bardwell, but they're not necessarily a housing host, but they are in a housing site.
Right, so those people are living in the community at large. As an example, up here we have the Burlington Community Panel, but they serve people that live in multiple different buildings around town. Pine Manor is an example. It's a senior housing building. A good chunk of their panel live in that senior housing building, but because it's not a housing host, those people are considered living in the community at large.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and hold on, I'm looking at, we have a question here from Jody as well. Hold on. On the cover sheet, asking staff if initial versus reassessment and original versus copy in a box to please return. Yeah, that's perfect, Jody. So I can absolutely, so Jody suggested that I just update the cover sheet and put all those questions that we want on there, and I can absolutely do that. Basically, I just didn't want to inundate people with emails. We hear back that we email a lot, so I'm trying not to over-email, but I can definitely update this form and then send it out to people again. I think that that's a great idea. Thank you.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Linda Husband? I thought we was, in addition to the cover sheet, I thought we were asked to put the information on the top of the assessment, the ID and everything, which I've been doing. So that's like double, right, for every person?
Sure. If you were actually doing it, then yeah, that is double. You can stop doing the one on the actual assessment and just start using this one. The problem was we had asked people to do that, and a good majority of people weren't. So we were getting assessments out that information. And
that's okay. Well, I've done them all. Anyway, that's okay. I'll do the sheet too. But the other question is on the back to the monthly report. Who do I address the mistakes to? The help desk? Because there are I have some errors on mine.
Yep, that's fine. You can either let Amy know or send it to the help desk, and we'll make sure that they get either to Juan or whoever it needs to, depending on what the issue is, to get those fixed.
Because I have a person that the name is there but no ID number, and they do have an ID number, and I don't know why it didn't show up on the monthly report, the person's ID, because she's been, you know, with us a long time.
Okay. No, that's perfect. Yeah, go ahead and send that to the help desk, and we will see that for you.
Okay, thanks.
Linda? So I think that I covered all the stuff that I had wanted to cover. Are there questions out there you guys want to talk about? Stuck inside on the snowy day? If nobody has any questions, I can go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for calling in and for your feedback. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye.